Sports Reel again with Coach Hall. You know, the University of Texas and Oklahoma were slated to join the SEC after the 2024-25 school year. Well, those two institutions has now agreed to join the SEC 1 year earlier. They're going to play one more season in the Big 12, the 23-24 season. Afterwards, they're going to join the SEC. The cost for doing so? Both schools are going to pay a total of $100 million. $100 million just to leave a conference. That ought to let you know right there the kind of money that's being made in college athletics for institutions like that to want to pay that kind of money just to leave. No wonder the players are now getting paid for this NIL. They should have been getting paid all along. But what about the money that they're getting that would have still been going to the institutions? Me personally, I don't understand the big rush to join all these super conferences. With the addition of Oklahoma and Texas, now you have SEC ballooning up to 16 teams. How many teams is enough? You're only going to get but so many teams in the playoffs. Well, we know money is a major factor in all of that. But if you are Oklahoma and Texas, you're going to pretty much make your way into the playoffs anyway, especially now with the playoffs expanding to 24 teams. At the same time, these two teams are going to the SEC. So what I see that being is the SEC is probably going to get 3 teams. The Big 12 is going to get 3. The now depleted Pac-12, they're going to get 2 teams in. And ACC is going to get 2 or 3 teams. And basically what it's going to be is those smaller schools like Central Florida, who is moving into the Big 12, they're going to gain in stature, but at the same time, they're only going to get a small piece of the pot because they're going to be on the outside looking in. And TCU's obliteration at the hands of Georgia didn't help that at all. So I don't see why Oklahoma and Texas really need to move because they're going to make the money anyway. You know, Texas has that Longhorn network. They're making big money off that. So why is it necessary that they need to join the SEC? But who gains in all of this the most are those small schools like SMU and Central Florida and Cincinnati's. They're going to move into the void left by some of these schools who are vacated. You know, it's not just Oklahoma and Texas. You do remember that UCLA and USC, they're both going to the Big Ten. Now, USC going to the Big Ten opens up a lot of questions. If you're familiar with their agreement with Notre Dame, they've been playing Notre Dame the longest non-conference rivalry in the nation. They will go to Notre Dame before it gets really cold. So they will go there like in October before it got really cold. And then, of course, Notre Dame will get repaid the favor by going out to the coast later in the year. Well, now that USC is going to be in the Big Ten, how are you going to avoid the cold weather games? So that lets Notre Dame possibly want to rearrange the arrangement that they have with USC. You can't make that cold weather argument anymore if you're going to go to the Big Ten. Now that's going to be interesting, and we'll see how that unfolds. But Texas and Oklahoma, the fact that they need to pay $100 million just to leave the conference that they're in now, what is there really out there for them to get? As I said before, when all these big conferences join together and you got these blue bloods all mixing in with other blue bloods, now you're going to see the truth. And the truth is, like I've been saying all these years before, that all those conferences were made up the same. You got 2 or 3 teams on the top, you got 2 or 3 teams on the bottom, and the rest are going to be in the middle. Now that the 2 or 3 teams from this conference is mixing in with the 2 or 3 teams from the SEC, some of the ones who had success in the SEC is going to have far less success than they've had in the past. Take Florida, for instance. Florida, yes, they had their moments, but Florida to me is still pretty much a new program. I recall the day back in 1979 in my lifetime where Florida Gators didn't win a game. So they hadn't always been a high-powered, high-statute team in the SEC. They had their run, then they dropped back down. Right now, they're currently down. They have the athletes to bounce back, but you're not guaranteed to get the athletes that are in your state. You're competing with everybody else. So I think that Florida is going to not benefit from this because they are one of the programs who didn't reach out to play other teams nationally as much as some of the other teams in the conference, like Alabama and LSU and Auburn. They would always play people. Florida, not so much. But now you have no choice but to play Oklahoma and the Texases because you have to. It's not that you couldn't play with them, you just refuse to play with them. And now, when you have to compete, you're going to find yourself behind. So that's the downside I see of all these conferences going together. But I'm just trying to figure out where is all this money, or how much more money out there is there to get when teams play conferences, pay conferences $100 million just to make a move away from it. So it's just something to think about, and I'm going to keep my eyes on this situation, and I'll keep you updated as things unfold. It's Sports for Real.